that completeness that you are searching for is not different from you. That's what you are. Iti jivasya brahmatva bodhakatvam. That jiva is in fact revealed to be none other than Brahma. Tathacha akhandartha brahma vishayakat pravritti ajanakat shabda bodhat. So that shabda bodha means the bodha that is born of shabda is called shabda bodha. And so that bodha or the knowledge that is generated as a result of this particular shabda, ayamatma Brahma, this vakya. What's the nature of that? Pravritti ajanakat. That which does not create any pravritti in me. Why? Akhandartha Brahma vishayakat. That vakya or mahavakya which has its vishaya in akhandartha Brahma. Akhandartha Brahma meaning akhandartha, one who is not different from jiva. There is no khanda or division between jiva and Brahma. So that this is a vakya that actually reveals a non-difference or non-duality between jiva and Brahma. Akhandartha Brahma vishayakat pravritti ajanakat shabda bodhat कर्म विशेष्यक पुरुष कर्तव्यत्व प्रकारक शब्द बोधस्य प्रवृत्ति जनकस्य विलक्षणत्वेन. So this particular vakya is different from कर्म विशेष्यक पुरुष कर्तव्यत्व प्रकारक शब्द बोधस्य. Those karma vakyas, they also create bodha in us, and that bodha also is shabda bodha. Svarga kamo yajeta and such other statements create bodha in us, which is called shabda bodha, the knowledge that is generated as a result of shabda. Purusha kartavya prakaraka. And that shabda bodha creates the kartavya. First of all, a kartavya buddhi in me that I should do this. Karma visheshyaka purusha. So swarga kamaha. Who is swarga kamaha? Karma visheshya purusha. Purusha who is desire of heavens. And therefore Purusha who should perform this particular action in order to fulfill that desire. So in such a Purusha it creates an activity for performance of that karma. Thus that Shabda Bodha is of different types. In one case there is cessation of activity, in another case there is a prompting or initiation of activity. So Vilakshanattvena. So this Shabda Bodha or the knowledge that is generated as it is a Brahma Vakya is quite different from the knowledge generated from the Karma Vakya. Chodana Rupa Pramane Bodhakatva Vilakshanyam Asti. Even though Pramana is one, Ajnada Jnapakam Pramanam. So that is common to both Dharma Vakya and Brahma Vakya, but still Bodhakatva Vilakshanyam Asti. Bodhakatvam is different. In one case, Bodhakatvam is the nature of Pravritti Janakatvam. In another case, there is pravritti ajanakatvam, and therefore bodhakatva means the state of teaching us is different. It is samudayatah. So these two vakyas have different bodhakatvam. The kind of knowledge that they generate is of different nature. Now Purnanadaya continues, Nanu etavata pravartakatvenaiva bodhakatvam dharmavakyasya uktam. Etavata granthena. By the text so far, by this discussion so far, pravartakatvenaiva bodhakatvam dharmavakyasya uktam. That dharmavakya gives us the bodha by pravartanam, meaning by prompting an activity or initiating an activity, by inspiring an activity in me. It invokes a different person. Idea is dharmavakya invokes a different person. And Brahma Vakya invokes a different person. One Vakya invokes an inadequate person. Other Vakya invokes the adequate one. And the inadequate person is going to respond to a situation in one way. Adequate person is going to respond to it in a different way. So what they invoke from me is different. So Dharma Vakya Suktam Tacha Brahma Vakya Syapi Asti Eva. Why do you say that Brahma Vakya does not generate any activity? We say that Brahma Vakya such as Tattvamasi also generates an activity. How? Brahma Vakyena Jnane Purusha Pravartate iti Prasiddhya. By listening to Brahma Vakya, Purusha Jnane Pravartate. A Purusha also is prompted to search for or seek the knowledge. That also is well known, he says. Jnana Rupe Vishaye Purusha Pravartakatvenaiva Tasya Brahma Bodhakatvad. And so such Vakyas as Tattvamasi also initiate an activity on the part of the person in terms of searching for the knowledge. And so, isn't it that after the Vakya is heard, that you do something to gain the knowledge? That's the idea. There also, after the Vakya is heard, that some activity is required on the part of this person to gain the knowledge. Isn't that so? And so, if the Karma Vakya creates activity in terms of prompting the person to perform the action, we say that Brahma Vakya creates an activity in the person in the form of searching for the knowledge. And so, even though the activities are of different nature, both of them only initiate activity in this person. How do you say that the Brahma Vakya does not create any activity? This is the idea. Iti Shankate Nanu iti. And so, up there in Ratna Prabha it is said, Nanu avabodha eva vishaya. Earlier it was said, so ayamatma brahma ityadi vakyam tu tvamartham kevalam aprapancham brahma bodhayati eva na pravartayati vishaya abhavat. Because no vishaya of pravritti. Since Brahma cannot become vishaya of pravritti, that which is already acquired, that which is already my nature, cannot become an object of pravritti. You cannot ask God, please give me a head over my shoulders. Even God cannot give me a head over the shoulders because I happen to have one. If you want another head, I can give you. If you want some different things in the head, if you want eyes at the back, I can perhaps give you. But I cannot give you a head over the shoulder. Why, Lord? I thought that you are omniscient, omnipotent, you are capable of doing everything. How come you cannot do? He says, even I cannot do. Because I also cannot give you what you already have. If you want something inside the head, I can give you. But head I cannot give you because you already have. And so, Vishaya Abhavat. So, I cannot become the Vishaya of of any activity. And Brahma is revealed to be Atma. So, it is said, Tvamartham Kevalam Aprapancham Brahma Bodhayati Tvamartham. That Brahma is revealed to be Tvamartham, meaning which is the same as Tvam, and therefore it cannot become an object of any activity. Therefore, this Vakya does not initiate any activity. This was the argument. He says there is a Vishaya. Vishaya Abhavatvat. He says, well, Nanu Avabodha Eva Vishaya. Brahma Vakya has a Vishaya. Brahma Vakya also can create an activity in terms of knowledge. Having heard the Vakya, you will do something to gain the knowledge. Will it not be? So, Purusha hai, na Purusha, that na, one na should be added there. Na Purusha iti. So, Bhashya said, na Purusha avabodhe niyujyate. Purusha avabodhe na niyujyate. Since Vakya itself creates the knowledge, there is no separate activity required to gain the knowledge. This is the idea. This being Pramana Vakya or any Pramanam creates knowledge, as Bhashyakar himself very beautifully says. That moment when your eyes are open and when the object such as a flower is in front of your eyes, then the knowledge of flower will automatically take place. No activity is required on your part to know the flower. Eyes are the Pramanam, the means of knowledge. Flower is Prameya, the object of knowledge. When Pramana and Prameya, both of them are present, then Prama, the knowledge, must automatically take place. No activity is needed on your part to gain the knowledge. So you don't have to do anything in order to say no, that this is a red object. Whatever, whether it is flower or not, but a perception automatically takes place. So when a Pramanam operates, when a means of knowledge operates, or when that Pramana, the means of knowledge, has adequate contact with the object of knowledge, then the knowledge automatically takes place. No pravritti is called for. That's why we call this Vedanta Vakya as Pramanam. Pramanam with reference to Atma. Atma, which is object of knowledge, is there, ever there, because it is Nityatvat. And Vedanta Vakya is a Pramanam. When that contact between Pramanam and the Prameya takes place, Prama or the knowledge must necessarily take place. Well, here we should also add that Pramanam is a combination of the Vedanta Vakya along with a proper mind. Because in the mind alone the knowledge should take place, and therefore Vedanta Vakyas such as Tattvamasi can become Pramanam, a valid means of knowledge, only when we enjoy a particular frame of mind. That's the reason why this atha is so necessary. That Brahma Vichara will create the knowledge only when a certain frame of mind is there, and that is what is suggested by atha. But when that is there, the knowledge of Brahma must necessarily take place. No activity is needed on the part of the listener. And therefore, this Brahma Bodhakam Vakyam, which is Pramanam, does not prompt any activity because it itself is a means of knowledge, and knowledge automatically arises. Not that an effort is needed in order to gain the knowledge. This is the idea. Na purushaha avabodhe niyujyate. Then this Vakya does not say that you search for knowledge or something like that, or that you carry out an activity in order to gain the knowledge. That Vakya itself produces knowledge. Says Ratna Prabha, Brahma Chodanaya Purushaha Avabodhe Na Pravartate. Between De and Na, there are different words. Not Avabodhe Na Pravartate, Avabodhe Na Pravartate. Because Avabodhe, this is only repeating of what Bhashyakara says. Brahma Chodanaya Purushaha Avabodhe Na Purusha Avabodhe Niyujyate means Purushaha Avabodhe Na Niyujyate means Na Pravartate. That is the statement. And how do we say that? Atra hetum purvakyena avabodhasya chodana janyatvat or chodana ajanyatvat. Depends on how you interpret the word chodana. Here it says chodana ajanyatvat. In that case, chodana is pravritti usually. So avabodhasya pravritti ajanyatvat. And so, avabodha is not born of pravritti. Knowledge is not born of activity. Knowledge is born of the pramana prameya vyavahara and not born of a certain activity. Knowledge can never be the result of an action. Any knowledge, like perception of flower, cannot be the result of an action. It is the result of the pramana prameya vyavahara. Indriya sannikarsha, when adequate contact with the object takes place, then knowledge automatically is generated. Knowledge is not generated as a result of activity. Or avabodhasya chodana janyatvat. That chodana is ajnata jnapakam pramana vakyam. If chodana is earlier, as Ratna Prabhakara said, if chodana is his vakya, meaning pramana vakya, then avabodhasya chodana janyatvat. That very vakya generates the avabodha of the knowledge. And not that a separate meditation is required for the knowledge to take place. It's the idea here. That vakya being pramana, if you want to call Vedanta as pramanam, then pramana must generate knowledge. And so, of course, some people believe that this only gives, Shabda always gives you Paroksha Jnanam. We say no, Shabda or the words, Vakya gives us a Paroksha Jnanam in case of the objects which are right in front of you, which are present at the moment. As we said, like I am talking to Krishnamurti, not knowing who he is, and someone comes and says, this is Krishnamurti, same Krishnamurti is this one, Soyam Devadattaha. Then those words create in me the knowledge that this is Krishnamurti. I recognize Krishnamurti because he is in front of me. So something which is already a matter of experience but not known to you. Words can give us aparoksha jnanam for in such case. Otherwise, when an object is away from me, then the Shabda or the words always give me indirect knowledge, paroksha jnanam. But when the object is in front of me and not recognized by me, then words create recognition and thus give me the immediate knowledge of that object. Atma also falls in that category because praptasya prapti, and therefore the words should create immediate knowledge. Avabodhasya chodana janyatva. Then it would be meaning that way, where chodana is pramana vakyam, avabodha is created as a result of pramana. So iti atra hetum purvakyenaha. How do you say that? By the word Brahma Chodana, I mean by the Vakyas revealing Brahma, that Purusha is not initiated or prompted into activity. Purvakyenaha avabodhasya chodana janyatvat. Says yes, swajanya jnane, that's how the meaning is given by Ratna Prabhakara. Swajanya chodana janyatvat means Vakya janyatvat. Swajanya jnane swayam pramanam na pravartakam iti atra drushtanta. So pramanya is swatah pramanyam. You must have swatah pramanam, paratah pramanam. According to Vedantins, a pramana has swatah pramanyam. Eyes itself gives a valid knowledge for which the validity is provided by eyes themselves. Not that the knowledge which is produced by eyes has to be verified by something else. Nayayikas believe that pramanam has paratah pramanyam. That you can verify that when I say that this is a japakusuma, a particular knowledge is generated by the contact with the eyes, then we would call it valid knowledge only when I pick up that flower and verify that it is japakusuma. Samvadi pravritti janakatvam is necessary. Because suppose you find your eyes reveal the knowledge that this is silver. You go and find out that this is not silver, this is only a piece of shell. In that case, the knowledge produced by the eyes was false knowledge, was Brahma. And so when do you call it knowledge? Only when it is followed by a samvadi pravritti, meaning a proper activity. So they believe, and we will not go into this discussion at the moment, but the idea is that such an opinion is there, that is why this statement is necessary, that a knowledge is called valid only when it is verified later on by some other means of knowledge. We say no. Eyes alone are competent to give the knowledge of color. You cannot verify it by any other way. How will you verify that this color is other than red? Even if it is Brahma, how are you going to verify it? Unless your eyes are defective. In that case, we say that for producing knowledge, a proper and adequate means of knowledge is required. So, if the knowledge created by a pramana or a means of knowledge is not valid, it is not because the pramanam is not capable of creating valid knowledge, it is because the pramanam is defective. So it is defect in the pramanam or some other defect like the proper contact may not be there. There may be semi-darkness as a result of that. The eyes are not able to properly contact the flower. Like eyes are not able to properly contact the rope, and therefore there is this Brahma that this is snake. There is not the fault of eyes as a pramanam. It is because proper conditions are not satisfied for indriya sannikarsha, that a proper and adequate contact must be there between the eyes and the object. At the same time, the eyes must be in proper condition. Then alone they should be called eyes. If the eyes have cataract, etc., then we would say it is a defective pramanam. And therefore, we do not say that you require verification of the knowledge generated by the eyes. The eyes are competent to generate their own knowledge without the need for verification by anything else. Otherwise, they don't accept Vedas as pramanam. Nayayikas. They say only tarka is pramanam. What the Vedas says must be verified by our tarka, meaning by our reasoning. Then alone we will accept Vedas. If Vedas also say something which is not reasonable, we won't accept it. So according to them, human intellect ultimately will become the pramanam. But we say that human intellect itself is inflicted with all kinds of defects. And therefore, how do you depend upon that? We say that Vedas are an independent pramanam with reference to apaurushaya vishaya. And therefore, you cannot question what the Vedas say with reference to some pramanam like buddhi, because buddhi does not have competence with reference to apaurushaya vishaya. You can question what the Vedas also say with reference to evident objects. And there we don't consider Vedas as pramanam. Veda is pramanam for what? Apaurushaya vishaya. Suppose Vedas give you a description of a particular tree, like Ashwatha tree, which you find is not right, then we would say that we have to find some other meaning there. Because Vedas also are not considered as pramanam with reference to paurushaya vishayas. If Vedas describe fire as cold or something, then we will have to seek some other meaning there. Not that it is wrong, but then some lakshana vritti is to be employed there, because it seems to contradict some other means of knowledge. But anyway, swajanya jnane swayam pramanam. So every pramanam is swajanya jnane swayam pramanam. Just as eyes are pramanam with reference to knowledge generated by them, ears or the nose cannot question what the data that the eyes give cannot be questioned by ears or nose or tongue or even by the intellect. Intellect also has to depend upon the data supplied by the sense organs. So nobody can question it. And if you find it to be wrong, then you have to verify whether your eyes are in proper condition or proper conditions are satisfied or not. Na pravartakam. It is not that having seen an object by the eyes, that you should do something to gain the knowledge. No. Eyes produce the knowledge, and that itself is the ultimate knowledge, meaning it is a valid knowledge, and there is no pravritti called for. They say there is pravritti. They say that you see the silver and there is a pravritti to acquire that object, you pick it up and find it is silver, that is valid knowledge. You find it to be a piece of shell, it is not valid knowledge. So according to them, this knowledge also prompts an activity. We say no, knowledge does not prompt an activity. Knowledge stops by creating the perception of silver. Then it's your mind which has all kinds of problems, which creates activity. Because there can be a person who is not interested in silver, in which case, in his mind, activity will not be there. Even though he sees silver, he can just walk by. Or, when you perceive a snake, there may be an activity in terms of you are running away, which also may not happen to someone who is not afraid of snakes. He may just walk by. Who knows snakes properly? Not afraid means. So there is no rule that knowledge should necessarily create activity. So it is not knowledge that creates activity, it is something else in the mind that creates activity, and therefore knowledge does not create activity. It just stops. Its function is over by simply creating the knowledge. The pramanam's function is over when it creates the knowledge. That's all. Na pravartayati, na pravartakam ityatra drishtantamaha yasa. Lots of discussions are there of this nature. But then, and it's interesting how different people think differently and how different opinions are there. There is some meaning in them, in what they say, of course, because it is derived from the experience. But how to interpret experience is a very important thing. And that is where people have little difficulties, Well, Vedantins will correct them, everywhere, as to how to interpret an experience. Yatha. So, Drishtanta, Bhashyakara gives Drishtanta, says there, Yatha Aksharth Sannikarshena Arthavabodhe Tadvata Yatha Akshartha Sannikarshena. Aksha means a sense organ. Sannikarsha means a contact. Akshartha Sannikarshena, by contact with a sense organ. Sometimes Aksha also means eyes, and Aksha can also mean sense organ in general. Artha. So Arthavabodhe. Artha means Padartha, means an object. So Arthavabodhe Purusha na niyujyate. That's the idea there. Yatha Akshartha Sannikarshena Arthavabodhe Purusha na niyujyate. So when there is an adequate contact with a sense organ with an artha or with an object, then a knowledge is generated and no pravritti is in any way prompted there. Na niyujyate tadvata. Says Puranadya Swajanya Jnana iti avabodhasya brahmavakyajanyatvad brahmavakyam swajanya jnane swayam pramanameva na pravartakam. Avabodhasya brahmavakyajanyatvad, then chodhanajanyatvad means what? Brahmavakyajanyatvad. That's how we'll do. Although he janyatvad, later on Purnanandya himself says ajanyatvad cheda. But here he says avabodhasya brahmavakya janyatvad. That word chodana in the Bhashya has to be interpreted as brahmavakya. So avabodhasya brahmavakya janyatvad brahmavakyam swajanya jnane swayam pramanam. Brahmavakya means swajanya jnane swayam pramanam. Brahmavakyam itself is pramanam for the knowledge which is produced by that vakya. Na pravartakam, there is no need for you to do something else to verify that I am Brahman. Idea is that. Isn't it that having revealed that you are Brahma, that I should do something to verify that I am Brahma? No. That when the proper conditions are satisfied in terms of your mind and in terms of the proper unfoldment of that Mahavakya, then the knowledge should take place, and that knowledge doesn't require verification because itself is the validity, itself provides the validity. He drishtantamaha. So yatha iti. Then Purnananda Ratna Prabha says, Manadeva bodhasya jatatvad jate cha vidyayogat na vakyartha jnane purusha pravrittihi. Manad means pramanad. Pramanadeva bodhasya jatatvad. Since bodha, the knowledge, is generated by the very pramana itself, means of knowledge, jate cha vidyayogat. And once the knowledge having been born, there is no need for you to be told, may you know this object as such and such. You will automatically know. So jate cha vidyayogat. When the contact with the eyes have taken place, then there is no need for someone to instruct that may you know this object as a flower, or may you know this object as red, because your eyes will automatically perceive that, and no instruction is necessary in term for creating the knowledge. So jate cha vidhi ayogat na vakyartha jnane purusha pravrittihi. And therefore there is no pravritti on the part of the purusha with reference to seeking the knowledge. Knowledge automatically takes place. So it was said, Purusha pravritti, Purusha prayatna atantratvat. There is no Purusha prayatna involved here. Vakyartha jnana meaning Brahmatmika jnana ityartha. Says Purnananda in the last line, Pramana prameyoho sattve jnanam svayameva utpadyate. Pramana prameyoho sattve. Pramana means eyes, valid means of knowledge such as eyes, and prameya such as flower. When both of them are there, jnanam svayameva utpadyate. Knowledge takes place by itself. Tatra na pravrittihi hetuhu. For that flower knowledge to take place, no pravritti is called for on the part of the Purusha. Anyatha durgandhadi jnanam nasyad. Suppose you had the choice to know or not know. You don't even have a choice not to know this. That's unfortunate sometimes. You wish sometimes that you did not know certain things. You hear certain things, you wish that you did not hear. You see certain things, you wish you had not seen them. You remember certain things, you wish you did not remember them. Because in these things, we do not have a choice. He says, Anyatha durgandhadi jnanam nasyat. Otherwise, when you're walking, all kind of stink comes. You know choice in not knowing it. That stink also is perceived. You have a choice in that case to perhaps close your nose, and whatever stink can be avoided, you may try to avoid. But when the nose is open, meaning when those things are working there, whatever they are, and then when the stink is there at that time, because the nose of the skin has certain sensors there. When those sensors are there, when you're not suffering from cold, etc., and when the odor is there, then the knowledge automatically takes place. You don't have a choice. Purusha does not have a choice in preventing the knowledge to take place. There are certain choiceless things, and this is one of the choiceless things. That knowledge will take place when the pramana and prameya sannikarsha is there. And Swami also, there is no choice in not exercising choice, So, that in this person has given a faculty of choice. And you have to exercise that faculty of choice whether you like it or not. There is no choice in not exercising choice. Similarly also, there is no choice in knowing when the knowledge will automatically take place and you do not have a choice. Since you do not have a choice, there is no activity on your part. Inactivity can be initiated when there is a choice. Swarga kamo yajeta. I am not a swarga kama and therefore I don't do it. So kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. Whether I do it, I don't do it, or I do it as I please. So that choice is there. That is called purushatantratvam. Such thing is not there. That kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. That I want to know the flower and so I know it. I do not want to know the flower, so I do not know it. I want to know this object as a pot and not a flower, so I know it as a pot. No, that choice is not there, so there is no purushatantratvam with reference to knowledge. This is the point that Bhashyakara wants to make here. That pramana, so this is pramanam. That's how to look upon Vedanta. Pramana meaning a valid means of knowledge. Just as eyes are a valid means of knowledge for producing the knowledge of color, or the ears are the valid means of knowledge for producing knowledge of the sound, so also Vedanta Vakyas are the valid means of knowledge for producing knowledge of Brahman. And Karma Kanda Vakyas are the valid means of knowledge for producing knowledge of Dharma. And that is how we look upon Vedas as Pramana. Understand how Vakya can also become Pramanam. When the Vishaya is already there and it is not recognized. Atma is there but not recognized by me as such. In that case, Vedanta Vakya becomes Pramanam. Says Punanandya continuing, Pravritti Janakatva Ajanakatva Velakshanyat Shabdavoda Velakshanyam Vaktavyam. One, that Dharma Vakya creates Pravritti, that is the Pravritti Janakatvam, and Brahma Vakya has Pravritti Ajanakatvam, so that Velakshanyam is there, difference is there. Shabdavoda Velakshanyam Vaktavyam. So there is a Velakshanyam or quite difference between Shabdavoda, the knowledge created by the words. Shabdavoda Velakshanyat Bodhakatva Velakshanyam. That the two Vakyas have, they create the knowledge in different ways. Their Bodhakatvam or their ability or the nature of creating the knowledge is different. That also you will have to accept. That the two Vakyas function differently. One Vakya functions by creating an activity in you, other Vakya functions by creating merely knowledge in you. So, Vailakshanyena Shabda Pramana Vailakshanyasya Sattva. And so, both the Shabdas are Pramana, alright, but then the nature of Pramanyam is different. Prameya Jignasya Vailakshanyam Cha Vaktavyam. And therefore, the object which they deal with or address, that also must be different. So, Dharma, Prameya is the object of knowledge. Prameya Jignasya, Jignasa means Vishaya. Prameya Vishaya Vailakshanyam Vaktavyam. So, Prameya Vishaya in one case is Dharma, Prameya Vishaya in another case is Brahma. Tayoho Vailakshanyam Vaktavyam. That both of them are Vilakshana or quite different from each other. Tasmat Jignasa Bhedat Na Ekakartrukatvam Tantradvayasya. Tantradvaya, Karmakanda and Jnanakanda. In one case, Vishaya is Dharma, other case, Vishaya is Brahma. So both of them are quite distinct from each other, and therefore, na ekakartrukatvam. When is samuchaya possible? When that Vailakshanam is not, they say, samuchaya or combination of the two things is possible when the nature is compatible. If both are incompatible, then you cannot combine them. Only compatible things should be combined. Incompatible things cannot be combined. Even if you want to combine them, they cannot be combined. They won't remain for a long time, That is why all the Jyotish, etc. To see the compatibility, between the two persons, to make sure that the samuchaya continues, for a reasonable period of time. In India, of course, fortunately or unfortunately, since that seal is given, in the witness of Agni, that's all. You are stuck with it. And I guess there is some benefit there also, But that is the idea is that, but we always seek the compatibility. So since this Brahma and Dharma are incompatible, therefore they cannot be combined, and so there cannot be ekakartrukatvam between them. And therefore, tataha krama apeksha abhavena. Since one karta is not involved in the performance of Dharma and in knowledge of Brahma, therefore, there is no need or there is no anxiety on the part of the listener to know what the sequence is, because one karta is not involved. Apeksha bhavena krama vivakshayaha abhavat. And therefore we say that in atha there is no vivaksha, there is no intention of revealing any krama. Na anantaryokti dvara abhavat, na anantaryokti dvara kramartha atha shabda iti. That atha means anantarya, alright. But not anantarya of the nature of krama, anantarya of the nature of cause and effect. A succession, a necessary succession that take place, anantarya involving ekakartrukatvam. And Dharma and Brahma do not enjoy ekakartrukatvam, and therefore that does not have krama as a meaning. Iti etamartham vruti nidhaya sangrahena bhashyatam parishkarodi tatha chaiti. All of this meaning keeping in mind, then Ratnaprabha says here, Tathacha pravartaka manameyo dharma udasina manameyam brahma iti jignasya bhedat natan mimam sayoho kramartha atha shabda iti bhavaha. तथा च प्रवर्तकमानमेयो धर्मः. Meya is prameya or known. So pravartaka mana means pramana. Pravartaka pramanamena gneya dharma. Dharma is that which is to be known or which is known by pramanam, which is pravartakam pramanam. Udasina manemeyam brahma. Udasina pramanena gneyam brahma. Brahma is that which is known by pramanam, which is udasinam, which is not pravartakam. What is udasinam? Pravartaka bhinnam. So pramanam, Brahma pramanam is one which is different from Brahma Vakya is a pramanam which is different from the Pravartaka pramanam, and therefore iti jignasya bhedat tan mimamsayoho krama artha asa shabdah na, and therefore the dharma mimamsa and Brahma mimamsa, between them there is no krama, or meaning that word asa does not in any way suggest krama or sequence between dharma mimamsa and Brahma Mimamsa. Iti bhavaha. That is the idea in this discussion. Swayam avantara prakritam upasamhrutya. So, in this, the Ratna Prabhakara did the upasamhara of this thing that Atha Shabda does not have krama in them. They do not suggest krama. Atha Shabda does not suggest krama. That is avantara prakritam. Parama prakrita upasamhara arthaka bhashyam avatarayati. What is parama? That anantariya is what is indicated by atha. that is the main discussion of the atha. And then there was all these secondary discussions in between. So evam, Ratnavara says, evam atha shabdarthasya or atha shabdasya rather arthantar asambhavat anantarya vachitve sati tat avadhitvena pushkala karanam vaktavyam ityaha tasmaditi. Evam, in this manner, atha shabdasya arthantar asambhavat. Since atha shabda cannot mean anything other than anantarya, it cannot mean krama or it cannot mean anything else that was discussed earlier. Different meanings were discussed. Whether atha is arambha, that was not possible. Atha means mangalam, that was also not possible. Atha is anantaryam. In the anantarya also different kinds of anantaryas were discussed. That arthantaratvam was also discussed there. That one artha, the other artha. Says no, arthantaratvam is one kind of anantaryam, but anantarya is a specific case of arthantara, and that should be there. And atha was krama, that was also discussion by this jnana karma samuchayavadis, so that also is not there. And therefore arthantar asambhavat. Since atha cannot have a meaning other than anantarya, anantarya vachitve sati, that you have to accept that atha only means anantarya in this case. Tat avadhitvena. So what that anantarya suggests? Anantarya meaning thereafter, following, succession. And so succession definitely suggests something which must have preceded the Brahma Jignasa. Pushkala Karanam. And then also we say that anantarya is there in the primary sense only when what precedes and what follows enjoy a cause and effect relationship. Otherwise a cow is following a horse. That also is anantaryam. But that is what? Gaunam anantaryam. Because not every time, in every place, in every situation, a cow follows a horse. Only incidentally it may follow. But at every time, in every situation, in every place, an effect must follow a cause. And therefore, that is the mukhya anantaryam. So that is called asad, and then not sadharana karanam. What kind of karanam must be there? That karanam also is of two kinds. Sadharana karanam, asadharana karanam. So this atha must indicate asadharana karanam, because sadharana karanas are known anyway. And so it must indicate asadharana karanam, pushkala karanam, which is when there that the karya takes place, which when not there, karya does not take place. That is called pushkala karanam. Tad vaktavyam. And so you now have to investigate yourself. What does this atha shabda indicate? It does indicate anantaryam, of the nature of mukhya anantaryam, and indicates karya karana bhavaha. Therefore, atha indicates that there must be an avadhi. What must have preceded must be pushkala karanam. So then it is up to us to to investigate and determine what that pushkala karanam is there. Which is when there, then Brahma Jignasa will take place. Which when not there, Brahma Jignasa will not take place. So, Anvaya Vyatireka, we can determine that Pushkala Karanam. That's what Bhashyakara will do. By Anvaya Vyatireka, Bhashyakara will ascertain what that Pushkala Karanam, Asadharana Karanam, or a specific cause required for Brahma Jignasa to take place. Iti Vaktavyam, that must be stated now by us. Tasmaditi, so Bhashyakara says. एवं समुच्चयवादिना यदुक्तम तत्सर्वं यस्मात् खंडितम तस्मात् अशब्दस्य अर्थान्तरत्व संभवात् सूत्रे यदनन्तरं ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा उपदिश्यते तत् पुष्कल कारणम् आनन्तर्यावधिभूतं वक्तव्यम् इति आह इत्यर्थः. That we discussed. So Bhashya says here, तस्मात् किमपि वक्तव्यम् यदनन्तरं ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा उपदिश्यते इति. Tasmad, therefore. Why? Yasmad. Samuchayavadana yaduktam tatsarvam khanditam. Since whatever the Samuchayavadi has said has all been dismissed, therefore, now it is okay. What do you then mean by Atha? Then we have to say what Atha actually suggests there. That is a Pushkala Karanam. So Bhashyakara said, Tasmad kimapi vaktavyam. So that kimapi means that should be stated yadanantaram, after following which Brahma Jignasa upadishyade. So Brahma upadishyade sutra krita. Since Sutrakara says athado Brahma Jignasa, means Sutrakara gives the upadesha of Brahma Jignasa, and by atha Sutrakara himself suggests that Anantari is there, something must have preceded, and therefore that which the Sutrakara suggests by the word atha, and keeping which in mind Sutrakara does the Upadesha of Brahma Jignasa, that must be stated. That Pushkala Karanam must be stated. Says Puranandiya, Yadanantaram Brahma Jignasa Upadishyade, Tat Pushkala Karanam Vaktavyam. Yadanantaram Brahma Jignasa Upadishyade, Tat Vaktavyam. That Tat should be added. Iti Tat Shabda Adhyahayana Bhashyam Yojaniyam. Tat Vaktavyam. Tatkim, what is it? Ityataha. Then Bhashyakara himself now says, Uchyate Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha Iha Mutrartha Bhoga Viragaha Shamadamadi Sadhana Sampata Mumukshutvancha. As though these things are known, Bhashyakara does not even elaborate them here, Says Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. How do you take it for granted that we know these things? Says Ratnaprabha, Vivekadinam Agamikatvena Pramanikatvam Purstadeva Uktam. Earlier, right in the beginning itself, Ratnaprabhakara says that we already discussed how Viveka Vairagya, Samadhi, Shatka Sampatti and Mumuksutam, all of these is Agamikam. Meaning all of these in fact are mentioned by Agama, by the Vedas, Vedanta itself, and therefore it is Pramanam. It is not that this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is something that is created or imagined by Bhashyakara. It must have its pramanyam only from the Vedas. And so if you look at page 5, for example, of this book here, then on page 5 it is said by Ratnaprabha, Nanu Anubandhajatam Vidhi Sannihita Arthavadavakyahi eva jnatum shakyam. By Purvapaksha it was said anyway, but tathahi tadyathahi karmachito lokah kshiyade evameva amutra punyachito lokah kshiyade. It is Shrutya yat kritakam tadanityam iti nyayavatya Shrutya न जायते म्रियते वा वे पश्चित् यो वै भूमा तदमृतम् अतः अन्यदार्थम् इत्यादि श्रुत्या च भूमात्मा नित्यः ततः अन्यद अनित्यमिति विवेकः लभ्यते. सो श्रुति herself says what is अनित्यम. तद्यथा इह कर्मचितो लोकः क्षीयते एवमेव मुत्र पुण्यचितो लोकः क्षीयते. Just as whatever is required by karma here comes to an end, so also whatever is acquired by punya, even the heavens also, that also is going to come to an end, meaning it is vinashi, therefore anityam. Nitya means avinashi, anitya means vinashi. So just as the karma phala here also comes to an end, gets destroyed, so also Swarga, which is also karma phala, will be destroyed also. So it is anityam. And in that, the reasoning also is involved. Yat krutakam tad anityam. Karma chito logaha kshiyate. So yat krutakam kshiyate tad anityam. You see? So this particular reasoning, yat krutakam tad anityam, that which is created by karma, that which is acquired as a result of karma, is anityam, is impermanent. That Shruti nitya vastu. Yo vai bhuma tad amrutam. Amrutam means what? Nityam. Ataha anyad artam. That bhuman or Brahma is nityam. Everything other than Brahma is artam, meaning anityam, alpam. Ityadi shrutyacha bhuma atma nityah tataha anyad anityamiti labhyate vivekah labhyate. Thus from this statement of the Shruti, you find the nitya nitya vastu vivekah. So nitya nitya vastu viveka is pramanikah, because it is in fact stated by Shruti herself. Then karmana kushadina, that's all. Then parikshalokan karmachidan brahmano nirvedamayat nasta kritah kritena atmastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati ityadi shrutya anatmamatra vairagyam labhyate. That when you really examine all the achievements that are possible by action, then you discover that all of them are limited in time, in place and condition also. And therefore akritaha kritena karmana nasti. Akritaha, uncreated, moksha that is uncreated, cannot be acquired by karma. And atmastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. If I don't have raga in the object, then where do I have raga? Atmastu kamaya. Everyone actually only is prompted by a love for the Atma. So there is raga in the Atma and absence of raga in the objects, and that is how vairagya also is established. शांतुदांतो परतस्थितिक्षु समाहित श्रद्धावित्वो भूत्वा आत्मनेव आत्मानं पश्यति श्रुत्या समाधि षट्कं लभ्यते. शम दम उपरति तितिक्षा, उपरति तितिक्षा समाधानम श्रद्धा इति. Two श्रुतिज आर कंबाइंड there. समाहितो भूत्वा इति कारण पाठ है. उपरति संन्यास, देन न स पुनरावर्तते इति स्वयं ज्योतिः आनंदात्मक मोक्षस्य नित्यत्व श्रुत्या मुमुक्षा लभ्यते. That this Atma is, moksha is of the nature of Atma, who is Ananda, who is self-effulgent, and gaining knowing which nasa punaravartate. In this manner, desire to know the Atma also arises, and this is how the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is in fact mentioned in the Vedas themselves in different places, and therefore this is pramanikam. This is vivekadinam agamikatvena pramanikatvam Purastadeva Uktam. Therefore, Ratna Prabha said here that earlier itself we have already stated Purastad means where? Purvasmin Sambandha Granthayo Upavaditamiti Bhavaha. That was Sambandha Grantha establishing Sambandha between ourselves and the Shastra. And so Anubandha Chatushtaya, where it was trying to establish, there we had already stated this. So don't think that this is something that is the figment of imagination of the Bhashyakara or something. How did you get this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti? You must also get it from Vedas. So from Vedas alone we get it. And that alone is suggested by Sutrakara, by the word Atha in that sutra. Then Ratnaprabha gives a brief explanation of this. Viveka and Vairagya is all clear. It doesn't explain that. Nitya nitya vastu vivekaha. Iha mutrartha, amutra means what? Paralokepi. Iha mutrartha bhoga viraga hai. A cessation of bhoga. So bhoga viraga. A dispassion towards enjoyment of the objects here and hereafter. Meaning vairagya is a freedom from a need to have bhoga or enjoyment. Not need for happiness. Not need for absence of happiness. but seeking happiness out of objects. That is called vairagya, which should arise as a result of viveka. Iha mutrartha bhoga viraga. And so that viraga is what? So vairagya, meaning the freedom from raga or freedom from dvesha towards the bhogas here and hereafter. This is called vairagya. Then shamadamadi sadhana sampat. What is shamaha? Laukika vyaparat manasaha upashamaha shamaha. A nice definition. That it is mano nigraha, etc. Here, then swalakshe niyatavastha. Vivek Chudamani says, what is shamaha? Swalakshe niyatavastha. Mind's niyata avastha. Abiding of the mind in its own lakshya, in its own objective or the goal is called shamaha. Here on the other hand, it is explained as Laukika vyaparat manasaha uparamaha shamaha. That the mind withdraws itself from all the laukika vyapara, not the vaidika vyapara. So they don't want the mind to completely become inactive. But then withdrawal of the mind from the laukika activities. But activity in terms of shravana, manana, nididhyasana continues, even the mind enjoying shamatvam, meaning freedom from activity, does engage in activities of the nature of shravana, manana, nididhyasana, or whatever is required for becoming fit for shravanam. So amanitvam, adambhitvam, if these are the things that one has to acquire, in order to prepare the mind for shravanam, we would say that even that activity also is definitely required. So that will not be laukika vyavahara, that also will be vaidika vyavahara. So laukika vyaparat manasaha uparamaha shamaha. Bahya karananam uparamaha damaha. And of course cessation of activity of the external sense organs, of the eyes, ears, organs of action and organs of perception, when they are not restless. Not that they stop acting. Because Shravana also will require Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha, Bhadram Paschema Akshabhi Ajatraha. So that kind of activity will be there. But not activity of the eyes and ears seeking the bhoga in the objects. So cessation of activities of the sense organs from actions to acquire something, sakama karma, and activities of the sense organs from the bhoga or enjoyment of objects. That kind of cessation of activities is called damaha. So damaha also does not mean total inactivity of the sense organs. Eyes and ears can function. But what's the purpose of their functioning? Not for bhoga. Eyes seeking not something, or ears all the time trying to hear something for enjoyment. That kind of activity is not there. Or the hands and legs acting for acquiring something. Even that activity also is not there. Even though hands and legs can do activity. In terms of writing, suppose hands have to do something which is consistent with what you are seeking, that kind of an activity is okay. Anything that is not consistent with what you are seeking, cessation of that is called shamaha mentally, and of the sense organ is called damaha. Jnanartham vihita nityadi karma sannyasa uparatihi. Uparatihi is interpreted again as sannyasa. Vihita nityadi means nitya naimittika karma sannyasa. Jnanartham. So you have taken karma sannyasa for the purpose of knowledge. So, for the sake of knowledge, for pursuing the knowledge, that sannyasa one has taken from the laukika activities or even nitya, vaidika activities is called uparamaha, here uparatihi. It was swadharma anushthanamev uparamaha. The anusthana of one's own dharma, meaning cessation of all the sakama karma was called uparama there. Here, cessation of all the karma, nitya naimittika karma, their performance of nitya naimittika karma was part of uparama. And cessation of all the sakama karma was called uparama in tattva bodha. Here on the other hand, cessation of all the nitya naimittika karma is called uparama. Shitoshnadi dvandva sahanam titiksha. Tij means to forbear or to suffer. So titiksha, in fact it is desiderative, but the meaning is not desiderative, meaning is only straight. It's not desire to suffer, it is suffering. Titiksha means suffering. Or putting up with, but happily. Happily putting up with, not suffering in the sense of with all kinds of complaints within the mind, or all kinds of desire to revenge, ultimately. That I put up with things and waiting for an opportunity to retaliate, So that is not titiksha. Without any activity or any reaction in the form of retaliation outwardly or suffering within, that would be called titiksha. Because purpose there is not suffering or putting up with. Purpose is to enjoy a frame of mind which is the proper frame of mind for knowledge. And suppose you are grieving inside and outwardly not expressing, well, that mind is not fit for knowledge. Or you are aggressive and therefore outwardly you retaliate, that mind also is not fit for knowledge, because in either case, in one case the mind is highly active, in another case the mind is totally dull. And so we want a sattvic mind. All these qualities are for gaining a sattvic frame of mind. So here sahanam also is what? Sattvic sahanam. Rajas is there, rajas is there, retaliation will be there. Tamas is there, inner grief will be there. That's why sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam. Pratikara, retaliation is there when the mind is rajas. Chinta vilapa rahitam. When outward pratikara is not there, inward chinta and vilapa is there. That shows a tamas frame of mind. So a suffering devoid of rajas and tamas, that kind of suffering will be what? Sattvic suffering, meaning cheerfully putting up with things. Or happily suffering, if suffering can give us happiness. It can when we have a proper frame of mind. It's a tremendous thing. That's a great maturity of the mind, where you can remain happy in spite of unfavorable situation. It's not easy, but something we have to learn regardless, because otherwise we won't be able to enjoy a frame of mind which is we want an abiding mind. We want a mind which is our friend. We want a mind that does what we want it to do. And that will be there only when the mind is free from rajas and tamas. And so when it is said laukika vyaparat manasa uparama shamaha, that laukika vyapara creates all kind of rajas activity, therefore uparama. Bahya karananam uparama, when the indriyas are also active, again rajas, therefore cessation. Then jnanartham nitya naimite karma also can create all the kartavya buddhi and also create all kinds of activities, therefore cessation from there. This sahanam can create tamas or rajas both, cessation from that also. Titiksha. Nidralasya pramadatyagena manasasthitihi samadhanam, that is tamo. So giving up the tamo guna. Samadhanam can be two ways. Samadhanam is the quietude of the mind, or single point, the ekagrata of the mind. That can be there when you are sleeping also. So a person can be sleeping or totally dull, and that can also be misinterpreted as samadhanam. Says no, nidra alasya pramadatyagena, meaning giving up all the tamo gunas. So all the results will be tamo guna, giving that up, and then the frame of mind that we have is called samadhanam. Of course, samadhanam means viksheparahityam. Viksheparahityam means freedom from vikshepa or distraction. But that freedom from distraction can happen two ways. When the mind is sleepy, then also there is no distraction. Or when the mind is contemplative or abiding, then also there is no distraction. Therefore he said here, samadhana means viksheparahityam, but nidralasya pramadatyagena viksheparahityam. Not viksheparahityam of the nature of laya, viksheparahityam of the nature of a sattvic abiding mind. Very brief definitions, but very beautiful definitions. That is Ratnaprabha's specialty. He explains Upanishad mantras also briefly, but very beautifully. Here also gives very brief definitions, but then very, very beautiful definitions. Sarvatra astikata shraddha. That's all. So Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishwasaha Shraddha. Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Sarvatra, he says. Guru, Vedanta, Shastra, Ishvara, Atma, everywhere Shraddha. So astikata. That is there. Ishvara asti astikata. Shastram pramanam astikata. Guruhu pramanam astikata. Atma asti. And Atma is Brahma. There also astikata is required. Because in the beginning, you only begin with astikta. Asanneva sabhavati. Asad brahmeti veda chet. Asti brahmeti veda cheda. Santamenam tato viduhu iti. That Brahma is Atma. That astikata is required. Then alone you will apply your mind to discover how it can be. If I simply reject right away, how can Atma be Brahma? Then there will be no pravrutti on my part even to understand what it means. That I have an experience that Atma is not Brahma. That's an experience of everyone. And still Shruti says that you are Brahma. Then Astikata is called for. That what the Shruti says must be right. That such a thing is, that Atma is Brahma. How can it be? Then I will be motivated or prompted to learn or to discover how it can be. So Astikata is required in Shastra, in Guru, in Ishvara, in Atma. Then only we can have that Krupa. Only when we accept them, that we place ourselves in a condition where we enjoy that Anugraha. If you don't accept Ishvara, you cannot expect Ishvara Anugraha. If you don't accept Shastra, you cannot accept Shastra Anugraha. Don't accept Guru or Atma, cannot accept their Anugraha, expect. And so, even one should also accept oneself. Otherwise, there will be constant fight within. If I don't accept myself, then I will not have my own Anugraha. Then I become my own enemy, and a constant conflict is going on within. And so, acceptance of everything is called for. This is called Shraddha. एतत् षट्क प्राप्ति ही शमदमादि संपत्. This is षट्क प्राप्ति ही. Acquiring this sixfold wealth is the shamadamadi sampat, the wealth of the nature of shamadama, etc. Then what's the krama? Atra vivekadina muttarottara hetutvena adhikari visheshanatvam mantavyam. Why this particular sequence of viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shatka sampatti, mumukshutvam? Why the sequence? Uttarottara adhikari visheshanatvam mantavyam. That each previous one becomes a cause for the next one to arise. So Viveka is the first one, Nitya Vastu Viveka. The first one that can create Vairagya. Unless I know things as Anitya, and I know that I want Nitya Vastu, until then there is no Vairagya for Nitya Vastu. That doesn't come. When Vairagya does not come, meaning that Viveka has not been done. Bhoga Buddhi does not go. And I have not discovered that I want Nitya Vastu. I think that ye to sab chalega. If I get enough things in life, I'll be happy. I think that if I surround myself by enough number of objects of senses, then I'll be happy. I shift from here to there and there to there. I enjoy this, get bored with it, I do that. I enjoy food, that's enough, I go out and have pan. That's enough, then I go out and have a walk. That's done, now I can have some ice cream. That's done, then I now switch on the TV. That is done, then I have some sleep. That is done, then I can have a cup of tea. So people think that is how they can remain in good humor. So people don't remain in good humor by surrounding themselves with all kinds of objects of enjoyment. Except that there is no guarantee that the pan that you are eating will necessarily have the same kind of taste, or the video that you want to watch will necessarily give you the entertainment, or the ice cream that you are trying to eat will necessarily taste the same way, or will have the same effect in the stomach or in the throat or on the head or whatever it is. There is no guarantee at all. And therefore ultimately you get used to those things and then they stop giving you any pleasure. In fact, they become necessities. In the beginning, what is a luxury, in course of time becomes a necessity, and thus you become dependent upon them. It's better not to get involved in the beginning itself. Otherwise, to do all the big samsara and then to withdraw is very difficult, Once you get used to things, it's difficult. Having gotten used to shoes, you can't walk bare feet. Having gotten used to certain lifestyle of comfort. Comfort comes as a guest, remains as a host, lingers on as a host, and stays on to enslave you, as they say. And so comfort is a very, very corrupting thing. Once you get used to comfort, then it's very difficult to do without it. We think that we can give up. As Swamiji always says, this alcoholic fellow says when someone asked him, why do you drink alcohol? Don't you know how damaging it is? So I can give up any day, he says. He doesn't say that, the alcohol says that. Because alcohol makes him say I can give up any day, he doesn't say that, he cannot. And so you land yourself in a position when you become helpless. Alcohol makes you helpless, comfort makes you helpless. If you don't have comfort, well, then one day if you have to sleep in the bus, or one day you have to sleep in some kind of a dharmashala or something, you cannot sleep for the whole night. Swamiji, there was a light, I could not sleep. There was this, I could not sleep. There was that, I could not sleep. You have a bedroom with very comfortable bed and air conditioner. Every condition is created there. And moment there is a slight change in condition, the fan is not turning fast. Once the electricity goes away at night and the fan is not rotating, I cannot sleep for the whole night. So we have to decide whether we should land ourselves in the hands of all these comforts or not. They come very stealthily, and we think that, I can do without it. My life is very simple. And it may very well be simple, but it can always be simpler, And so, this business of comfort. Anyway, the idea is that unless I recognize the limitations of them, and unless I recognize how I am becoming a slave of these things, until then, my fascination for them does not go. And so, unless the fascination for the objects goes, vairagya is not there. Merely not having the objects is not vairagya. A freedom from fascination for the objects is called vairagya. So it said bhoga rahityam or ichcha rahityam. So raga means fascination. Only by viveka we have to discover that vairagya. That's why samadhi shatka sampatti. Unless it is intellectually understood that I must become free from them, then also I don't become free. As I say, as Swami would say, this fellow has anger and he wants to become free from anger. He cannot become free because he is in possession of anger. Anger is no more in his possession. Then you have to make a specific effort in order to become free from that. Having discovered the value of vairagya, samadhi shatka sampatti is a deliberate effort to actually discover the vairagya in our life. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantas nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya. That's why karma yoga was told. That vairagya which you want to cultivate, you have to cultivate through actual practice, because you will discover what sort of raga the mind has. That's why Lord Krishna identified karma phala asakti as one of the important ragas. Why karma phala asakti has been attacked so much or has been mentioned so much in Bhagavad Gita? Because karma is primarily what we do, and every time we perform an action, that asakti for karma phala always manifests itself. Then we have a chance to recognize that I have this asakti, then I can deal with it. Because vairagya is freedom from raga, and I should know what all sorts of ragas I have. And how would I know? Everything is quiet and nice as long as the situation is comfortable. But moment it is not, then all kinds of things arise from my mind. And therefore, this karma creates always an occasion for me to inquire, why am I doing this? What is my vested interest? What do I want out of this? Then I will have a chance to discover what asakti is involved, what raga is involved, and I will be able to handle it. So, having understood vairagya is one thing, and possessing vairagya is another thing. And that there is a big gap between the two, and that is called yoga. That yoga is a thing that actually connects you with what you want and what you are. And that is the samadhi shatka sampatti is actually owning up that vairagya as a result of viveka. Then once shama is there, shama is how will you withdraw from laukika vyapara? You cannot withdraw from laukika vyapara if you are interested in laukika things. But you are not interested in pariksha lokan karmachitan. That's why it's laukika vyapara. Laukika is what? Any vyapara that is performed for acquiring lokas. That is laukika vyapara. If you are still interested in lokas, I still want a name and fame and recognition and all kinds of stuff, Total superfluous personality, that I want things. As long as such superfluousness is there, so long the mind will always be wandering. And so one must discover their limitations. Then alone you can withdraw from the activities which are designed for acquiring all these kind of mundane things. And then alone there will be cessation of your activities. If the mind wants things, then the sense organs will run after them. When the mind then doesn't want, then alone the indriyas will also become quiet. Then alone Dhamma will be there. And then alone you will be able to withdraw from all the actions, Uparama will be there. And then Titiksha will be there. Because you have value that my mind must be quiet. I know that raga is external as well as internal. That there are internal problems, that's the reason why I am not able to put up with situations. And so it is not that there is a problem with the situation, that every situation exposes a problem within me, and therefore it gives me an opportunity to deal with my own mind, And so titiksha is not merely putting up with things, resolving things. As the reaction arises in the mind, we should resolve it, not that we should live with the reaction. That's not titiksha. You cannot put up with things cheerfully unless you discover that some reaction is involved in the mind which needs to be addressed. And so every time an unfavorable situation arises, some reaction comes from within, which reaction I understand and address and resolve. And that's how titiksha also generates a quietude. And shraddha and samadhanam, and this is how uttarottara utvam is there. So what precedes becomes a hetu for what follows. So hetutvena adhikara visheshanam mantavyam, and that is how the vivekadi becomes adhikara visheshanam in this sense. So there is a reason for that particular sequence. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Karaschartha Shabdascha Dvavetau Brahmanah Pura Kantham Vitva Viniryatau Tasman Mangalika Vubhau. Om Atha Om Atha Om Atha Tasmat Pratyegocarayoho Vishaya Vishayinoho Tamah Prakashavad Viruddha Svabhavayoho Itara Bhavanupapatto Siddhayam Tadharmanam Abhisutaram Itara Bhavanupapattihi Ityataha Asmat Pratyegocare Vishayini Chidatmake Yushmat Pratyegocharasya Vishayasya Tadharmanancha adhyasaha Tadviparyayena Vishayinaha Tadharmanancha Vishaye adhyasaha Mithyeti bhavitum yuktam Tathapi Anyonyasmin Anyonyatmakatam Anyonyadharmamscha adyasya Itaretara vivekena Atyanta viviktayoho Dharma dharminoho Mithya nimittaha Satyanrute mithuni kritya Ahamidam mamedamite Naisargikoyam loka vyavaharaha Vedantamimamsa shastrasya Vyachikhyasitasya Idamadivam sūtram Athato Brahma jignāsa Kimapi vaktavyam Yadanantaram Brahma jignāsa upadishyata iti Uchyate Nitya nitya vastu vivekaha Iha mutrartha bhoga viragaha Shamadamadi sadhana sampata Mumukshutvancha Atra vivekadina uttarottara hetutvena adhikari visheshanatvam mantavyam. How vivekadi become the uttarottara hetu. So each purva becomes the hetu for the uttara. Each preceding one becomes the hetu, becomes the ground for what follows. Iti mantavyam. That's the reason why this particular sequence is presented here. Now we are presenting this as what we call a pushkala karanam or asadharana karanam. The sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is adhikari visheshanam. Adhikari must be possessed of this sampatti, and that becomes the asadharana karanam. That adhikari visheshanam is asadharana karanam. Meaning, only when it is there, then the Brahma Jignasa takes place, which when not there, Brahma Jignasa does not take place. If that kind of a cause it is, then alone we will call it the asadharana karanam or pushkala karanam. So by Anvaya and Vyatireka we should show that when this is present, Brahma Jignasa is present. When this is not present, Brahma Jignasa is not present. Then it gets proven that this is the cause for Brahma Jignasa. So Ratnabha says, Tesham Anvaya Vyatireka Brahma Jignasa Hetutmaha. So Tesham means all this Vivekadinam, that Viveka Vairagya, all of this, Anvaya Vyatireka by Anvaya and Vyatireka, by the rule of agreement and disagreement, Brahma Jignasa Hetutmaha. How Vivekadi become the Hetu, the cause for Brahma Jignasa. This is what Bhashyakara says, Teshu iti. Says Bhashya, Teshu hi satsu pragape dharma jignasayaha urdhvancha shakyate brahma jignasitum jnatuncha na viparyaye. Teshu hi satsu, again prasiddhi. Only when the Sati Saptami. Teshu satsu, when this Vivekadi, so when this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is dharma jignasayaha pragapi, meaning this Brahma Jignasa does not have a relationship with Dharma Jignasa directly. Indirectly it may be that in the previous birth one must have conducted this Dharma Jignasa, as a result of which one must have, had Satkarma in one's life, and that is how the Sampatti has been gained. But still, the immediate cause is not Dharma Jignasa. Immediate cause that just precedes the effect is this Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. That's the idea. So, Dharma Jignasayaha pragapi. If this is there, then even before the Dharma Jignasa, suppose one is born with certain samskaras, in that case, even before one conducts this inquiry into Dharma, if these qualifications are there, then Brahma Jignastum Jnatum cha shakyate. Then it is possible that Brahma Jignasitum, that Brahma Jignasa will occur, and Brahma Vichara will take place, and Brahma Jnanam also will take place if this Sampatti is there. Or Brahma Jignasaya Urdhvam, Dharma Jignasaya Urdhvam. Or if one doesn't have the adequate qualifications, then performance of Dharma will enable one to cultivate these qualifications, and then the Brahma Jignasa will take place. The idea is that even if Dharma Jignasa is there, but if these qualifications are not there, then Dharma Jignasa is not enough. Even if Dharma Jignasa is not there, but these qualifications are there, then they are enough. So Brahma Jignasa is not enough. What is needed is the need for this qualification, the presence of these qualifications. Brahma Jignasum Jignasutum Jnatum cha shakyate na viparyaye, the Vyatireka. If these qualifications are not there, then Brahma Jignasa also will not be there, let alone Brahma Jnanam. See Purnanandiya in the last lines. Nanu vivekādi sattve vichārah tadvara sakshatkārasya anvaya sattvebi vivekādi abhāve brahma vichārādi abhāvayati na vyatirekaha. It's all right. Vivekādi sattve vichārah. That when Viveka Vairagya etc. is there, then Vicharaha, then Brahma Vichara, one becomes competent for Brahma Vichara. Tadvara Sakshatkarasya, and Brahma Vichara generates the knowledge, and that is how one will gain the direct knowledge of Brahman. Iti Anvaya Sattvepi, so we accept that Anvaya Sattva is there, meaning that when the sampatti is present, then Brahma Vichara and Brahma Jnanam is there, that we accept from what you say. Even then, Sattvepi, even though that being the case, Vivekadi Abhave, Brahma Vicharadi Abhavaha, iti Vyatirekaha na. However, how do you say that Brahma Vichara cannot take place when Vivekadi is not there? People may conduct Brahma Vichara, a study of the scriptures or inquire into or listen to the scriptures, even if the qualifications are not there. How do you say that Brahma Vichara does not take place in absence of the qualifications? Because Vichara is a karma which has Purusha Tantratvam, and so one is free to do Brahma Vichara whenever one wants. That there is no need that one must have these qualifications for an inquiry into Brahman to take place. So says, Vichar Brahma Vicharadi Abhava Vivekadi Abhave Brahma Vicharadi Abhava iti Vyatirekaha na. Why? Kasanchit Kutuhalataya. People are walking out of curiosity. Or Bahushrutatva Buddhyava. Or one may feel that one knows lot, Bahushrutatva. That I have done lot of Shravanam. That means I know what all is to be known. Va. Deva Vashadva. Or by some kind of prarabdha. Vivekadirhitasya Brahma Vichara Pravritti Darshana. Like Virochan, etc. They had this Pravritti, Brahma Vichara Pravritti. Deva Vashad. So Vivekadirhitasya, even though one does not possess Viveka, etc., Brahma Vichara Pravritti Darshana, we find that many people are engaged in Brahma Vichara or a study of the scriptures, listening to the scriptures, even without these qualifications. This is what we find. So how do you say that in absence of these qualifications, Brahma Vichara does not take place? How do you say that? Iti ashankya. Ratnaprabha says, Kathanchit Kutuhalataya iti. So Ratnaprabha said there in the last line on page 77, Atha Kathanchit, it says Kathanchit Kutuhalitaya Brahma Vichare Pravattasyabi Phalaparyantam Tadjnan Anudayat Vyatareka Siddhi. Atha, then Kathanchit Kutuhalitaya or Kutuhalataya. Kutuhalam asya asti iti Kutuhali. One who possesses curiosity. Kutuhali means curious. Kutuhalitaya, by curiosity. Or Kutuhalataya. Kutuhala means curiosity. So, by out of curiosity, etc. also. Kasanchit, somehow, out of Kutuhala, etc. Brahma Vichare Pravrittasyapi. Even though one may engage in this Brahma Vichara, Phalaparyantam Tadjnana Anudayat. That Vichara does not fructify. The idea is, yes, one may perform Brahma Vichara in absence of the qualifications, but the Vichara will not give rise to the Phala which it is supposed to give rise. And so, Vyatareka Siddhi. That Vichara is there, but Phala of the Vichara, namely Brahma Jnanam, is not there. Therefore we say that the kind of Vichara that is required for Brahma Jnanam, that Vichara doesn't take place in absence of Sadhana Chatushtaya Sambhakti. Says Purnandiya Vivekadi Bhave Phalaparyanta Jnana Pratibandhaka Sahita Vichara Sattvepi. So Pratibandhaka Phalaparyanta Jnanam. So what is the Phala or the ultimate result of this Vichara? Jnanam. And there is a Pratibandhaka, that knowledge does not take place. So there is a Vichara with a obstacle, that the knowledge does not take place. Such Vichara can be there. Tadrahita Vichara Bhava Vidyate. Pratibandhaka Rahita Jnana Pratibandhaka Rahita Vichara Bhava Vidyate. But a Vichara characterized by an absence of any obstacle, such that the ultimate result, namely knowledge, will take place. That kind of Vichara is not there. Even though some kind of Vichara is there in absence of the qualifications, the real Vichara which should fructify in knowledge, such Vichara not being there. Vyatareka Siddhi. They are not saying that one should not conduct Vichara in absence of qualifications. All they are saying is that if in spite of Vichara the knowledge does not take place, then know that it is no fault of Vichara. But it is that the preparation is required, and so one must continue until this preparation is done. Even Vichara itself helps us make the preparation. Because lots of our confusions and lots of notions are resolved as a result of this Vichara. And that is how the mind becomes clearer, and we see that a lot of things which were valuable so far are not really valuable. The whole problem in life is only a matter of priorities. It's a problem of priorities. That things which are not valuable have been gaining a lot of priority in our life, and things that are valuable have been therefore neglected. So since in our upbringing we have been seeing the value for wealth, etc., so automatically, unknowingly, they have become valuable to us. And so all our time and energy goes in acquiring those things. As a result of this satsanga, vichara itself, we recognize that what is the value of those things. They do have certain value in life, but up to this far, so far and not beyond. Wealth is valuable, and name and fame and power, all of these are valuable, but what do they contribute in my life? So much. Beyond that, there is no contribution. I might stock tons of wheat in my house, let us say, but what is the value? All I require is 2 chapatis morning and 2 chapatis in the evening, suppose. Then of the tons of wheat, all I require is only a few pounds. In which case, they do not serve value for giving more than 2 chapatis to me. Then I realize that I need not store more than so much of wheat which I require. And so, all of this has value. That family or health, wealth, everything has value. But if we assign them the value that belongs to them, then it is fine. Vedanta does not say that these things should be simply rejected or thrown away. Vedanta says that assign the values that is due to everything. Everything has something to contribute. In fact, all of this can become the means for Brahma Jignasa also, in their own way. Because you require money in order to perform karma, or to give charity and things like that. Even to do good karma also, some kind of resources are required. So if resources are employed in that way, fine, they can become means for Brahma Vichara. And if you understand the purpose of our life, that we ultimately, the reason for Vyavahara is nothing but acquiring a mature mind. That's all that is called for from the Vyavahara. Then we will employ Vyavahara for that purpose and not for any other purpose. So that phalasakti goes away. That I perform karma in order to acquire certain phala, no. Only phala that I am seeking out of karma is this antahkarana shuddhi. That's all I need and nothing else. In that case, the priority changes. Then the karma has a different place in my life. And so, the study of the scriptures is absolutely essential at any stage. Even when there is no qualification at all, then also satsang or study will definitely contribute something in my life by giving me a direction in the life, an insight into the life, an understanding or vision of life, and thus my life gains a proper direction. So that is required. But it's not enough. That now there is a lot of change in me, that's not enough. That change must be complete, inasmuch as I must completely become pure, and then alone I become really qualified for this. So that Vyatireka also must be stated, otherwise the Pramanya of the Shastra itself will be questioned. So you say that Vedanta is a Pramanam for knowledge, and in spite of operation of that Pramanam, the knowledge does not take place, then how do you say this Pramanam or a valid means of knowledge? Then we say that Pramanam also requires a Sahakari Karanam. For example, eyes are a means for perception of color. But perception of color will not take place in absence of light. So even though eyes are the valid means of knowledge for perception of light, these means of knowledge will operate only in presence of light. Then only I can see the color. Similarly also Vedanta is a valid means of knowledge for producing knowledge of Brahman, but they will function only in presence of this Vivekadi Sadhana Chatushtha Sampatti. So that Sahakari Karanam is required. If that is not there, in spite of Pramanam being there, the result does not occur. And Ratnavara continues, page 78. Atha Shabda Vyakhyanam Upasamharati. Now the Vyakhyanam, the discussion on the Atha Shabda now, Bhashyakara concludes. Tasmadidi. Tasmad Atha Shabdena Yathokta Sadhana Sampatti anantaryam upadishyate. So atha shabda is in the sense of anantarya, that was established. But what is avadhi for that anantarya? Yathokta sadhana chatushta sampatti. That becomes the avadhi. So that becomes the necessary thing which must precede and which is what atha indicates. So yathokta sadhana sampatti anantaryam upadishyate bhashyakrita. When bhashya sutra krita, when the sutrakara employs the word atha, in fact is teaching us that sadhana chatushta sampatti is called for. Now begins the discussion on ataha shabda. Athato brahma jignasa. Ataha brahma jignasa. 3 words are there. The discussion on atha is concluded. Ataha means therefore. What do you mean therefore? Does that ataha therefore have anything to do with atha? It must have. Otherwise, therefore cannot come. So therefore must be preceded by some reasoning. Otherwise you keep on saying therefore. People use because. You ask a little child, in America. Says, why did you go there? Because. Why did you do this? Because. But that's all. Nothing more than that. Because means that's all. Don't need any reason. Because I did it. That's all it means, Why did you go? Because I went. That's what it means, Why did you eat? Because I ate. Because, that's all. Because they always say this because they expect that some reason is there. But then you cannot say because unless you present some reasoning before that. So yes, Sutrakar says ataha, therefore. So therefore means what? Some reasoning must have preceded. Which reasoning must be